Welcome back, and you are now joining us for a very interesting conversation. And for that, we are going to be having Rabbia Sarang, who is a senior executive consultant, author, and a thought leader who focuses on the financial implications of women's health and her perspective on financial empowerment, confidence, and holistic well-being. Rabia, assalamu alaikum. Jazakallah so much for joining us this morning.
Assalamu alaikum, Jazakallah. I'm so privileged to be on the show, and I'm so excited because I'm so passionate about the effects every woman, every family, and ultimately what women play in the economy. You know, Maimoona, we often say health is our wealth, but the reality is our financial well-being and physical well-being are inseparable. So hence, I'm very excited to be here with you guys today.
And we're so looking forward to so much that you have to share with us. But before we get into a very, much necessary conversation in terms of linking finance to a woman's well-being, I want to start off on a light note and ask you, when you are not writing, when you are not advising clients or having conversation or just, generally speaking, what does a truly restful Saturday look like for you?
A restful Saturday starts off with me starting going for a walk in the morning, a 5K walk. And of course, always looking at opportunities, engaging with other women. And that's where I guess my whole life is all about helping people. So I can't seem to stop, even over weekends, engaging with the family, having time with them, friends with them, having dinners, that kind of thing, and looking for something where I can add value to someone's lives. That's exactly how
Amazing.
I lead my weekends.
Amazing. And looking back, you have spent more than 30 years helping individuals, organizations build financial resilience. From your perspective, why is women's health also a financial issue?
Well, I think most importantly, they're the foundation of any household. So if a woman is not taking care of her health, there's no way the family is going to survive. And it has a ripple effect in terms of the entire family. So, it removes the focus from what each and everyone has to do. So having embedded your time and having to know that you are the most important person in the household. Often fathers think that they are the pillar, but reality from a financial perspective, yes. But women and their health, if they're not right, the whole family suffers as a whole.
Mm. And I think that leads me to my other question in terms of what are some of those hidden costs women face throughout their lives that often don't receive enough attention?
Being a caregiver, that is to your children, your husband, your families. All of those are things that we don't really realize. And I keep on mentioning that. And the support to the husbands and the children while putting your life on hold. And women, from the age of 30 onwards, they go through perimenopause, menopause, and postmenopause, which impacts on your diet, your medication. You need to get some sort of help from a mental perspective. And of course, you end up having some chronic disease. These costs accumulate over time and can quietly place enormous pressure on households and finances.
Mm. And now we need to also address some of the things that occur, and not because it's actively being chosen, but it's more circumstantial. And this brings me to
Mm.
ask you, many women tend to delay seeking medical care or medical advice because of those specific financial pressures. What long-term consequences can this have for individuals, families, and economies, as you had established that actually when a woman is not well, it is a ripple effect?
Mm, mm. Thank you. That's a very good question. Financial stress starts setting in, and poor health creates a vicious circle. When money is tight, what do women do? They often skip medication, they delay checkups, and avoid therapy. At the same time, you'll find that anxiety starts increasing, and depression sets in, and burnout, and making existing health conditions worse. So what women don't realize that you cannot separate financial wellness from mental wellness, which actually are deeply connected.
Hmm. And now, when you think about this idea of financial freedom, because, as a
Mm,
young girl, you think of financial freedom to buying what you want, and not
mm,
having to ask permission or seek permission to get what you want. And now,
right.
looking at, the health perspective of financial freedom, can you please tell us exactly what does that actually look like in real life when it comes to health decisions?
You know, financial freedom is basically empowering a woman. You
Mm,
have choices. It means a woman doesn't have to decide between paying school fees and buying medication, or between seeing a specialist and paying the electricity bill. It allows her to make decisions based on what is best for her health and what she can afford today. Ultimately, financial freedom gives women dignity, independence, and peace of mind, and not having to choose health over survival. And that's
mm.
exactly what women are currently doing, you know. And right now, things are very difficult. I mean, so hence, we put our health on hold, unfortunately.
Mm. And now, for those who do not know, you actually are an author of a book titled Menopause and Money Pause, as in, like, verb, the pouring word, the word pour, actually. And looking at the book, it also has a subtitle that talks to From Your 20s to Timeless. What did you want women in their 20s and 30s to actually take away versus women who are already in, perimenopause or menopause?
Mm, mm. So the book is based on. I just want to give you a quick background. I mean, it took me through my life. So when I
Mm,
look back, I said, when you start working, nobody explains to you what is required that you should be savings, because coming into your 30s, you will require money in terms of perimenopause, where you'll have to start going to gym, dealing with anxiety, and you start settling into yourself and who you're really becoming. And then, of course, you start having a family. And of course, then that actually takes up a lot of your time and you forget about yourself. So hence, it's very important. Your hormones at the age of 30 starts playing a bit of havoc with you, not as bad as when you enter menopause itself from the age of 40 onwards. So it is imperative that you start putting money away for yourself, because you start having children, they take over, you buy a house, then you're buying a car, and all of that. You need to start gearing for the next stage of your life, which is menopause. So a proper financial plan is required in terms of planning at different stages of your life. And nobody tells us about this. There hasn't been anything that, I mean, we all come from, majority of us come from conservative backgrounds, or we have a man in the house who actually takes care of the finances. And nobody is giving you this information, because a lot of the women have not been exposed to financial education as such. They're all experts in their own field.
mm. Thank you so much for that, Rabia. And for now, we're going to head over to an ad break. When we come back, I just want to find out some solutions that we can impart to the women who are watching today in terms of what kind of support can they look into? How can they start saving when it comes to investing to their health and really welcoming, these changes that one can't run away from. But please do not go too far. Viewers and listeners, we will see you shortly and we will be continuing our conversation with Rabia Sarang.
When the perfect blend of stylish decor, exquisite halal cuisine, and warm hospitality come together, it could only mean Al Bayt Lodge, your true home away from home. Al Bayt is the ideal heaven for families, business people, and tourists, with its 4-star family rooms and other luxurious facilities. Conveniently situated close to Port Elizabeth Airport, the beach, and other amenities, your stay will be truly unforgettable, as you'll be taking home lasting memories of the warm hospitality, the serenity and tranquility that Al Bayt has to offer. For reservations, call 041 583 6415 or visit www.albaytlodge.co.za.
Hey Gulam,
Yeah?
did I return your lawnmower last month?
No, bye, you didn't.
Oh no. Now what'll I do? I wanted to borrow it again, man.
With Randry Jewelers, you won't have to borrow or lend because the prices are so well trimmed on all gold and diamond jewelry. Alternatively, we could remake your old jewelry into a brilliant new design. Visit Randry Jewelers at 151 Stevens Lamini Road, Musgrave, Durban. Randry Jewelers, the family name you can trust.
Gaza needs your support more than ever. Homes have been shattered and families have lost everything. With your support, our teams are delivering clean water tankers, feeding the hungry, and assisting orphans who have no one left. Let us give Gaza whatever help we can. African Muslims Agency, empowering, educating, inspiring.
Are you banking with convenience, transparency, and flexibility? With Al Barakah Bank's transactional banking account, you can enjoy convenient everyday banking designed around your needs. Benefit from zero fees on point-of-sale transactions and manage your banking easily through Al Barakah's secure mobile banking app and internet banking platform. From everyday payments to managing your personal or business banking, Al Barakah makes banking simple, transparent, and convenient. Visit albarakah.co.za to learn more. Al Barakah, your partner bank. Al Barakah Bank Limited is an authorized financial services and credit provider.
Right now, in some of the most devastated parts of our world, places close to many of our hearts, Doctors Without Borders is delivering emergency medical care where no one else will. Your donation gives a child surgery, a family clean water, a community a fighting chance against disease. This is an opportunity to make your giving count where it's needed most. Visit msf.org.za/sadaqah, that's SADAQAH, and donate today. Doctors Without Borders, we go there.
Rejuvenating media day by day. This is Salam Media.
Welcome back, and you're joining our conversation where we look into financial implication on women's health with the author of a very helpful and quite interesting book titled Menopause and Money Pause, and she goes by the name of Rabbia Sarang. Now, as we were, continuing our conversation, I know earlier on we were just trying to understand whether some of the financial cost that exists for women. I want to now take a very interesting approach, and this is to find out what kind of support do you think is most needed to reduce this cost burden on women?
Okay, I think firstly, let's talk about how do we build a woman, and how would they do it in terms of helping with the financial resilience. I think what is important is we need to start, and women can start by creating a realistic budget for themselves. That includes healthcare, and not just emergencies. They need to have a separate account for emergency funds, and they need to make appropriate, provision for medical cover. They need to ensure that they do schedule their health visits, and that there is money available for that. And in terms of support, one flows into the other. You have to first build in terms of ensuring that you have taken care of that. And once you do that, then you can then support each other. And how do you support each other? By having knowledge, encouraging one another. And you start this at an early age. You talk about money openly. You mentor young women. You support women-owned businesses. You create safe places where women can start, engaging with each other. And you start empowering these women and go out there into, especially women that have a lot of knowledge, to go out into the rural areas and help them. And, quite surprisingly, Maimoona, I was quite surprised. I always thought it's always the rural areas. You will be surprised, people at the upper to middle class women know so little in terms of financial knowledge and rely totally on men in terms of empowering themselves. And that is why I am willing, and I've opened up an NGO hoping to help women and empower them in financial wellness and education.
Hmm. And speaking on the different stakeholders who can come in and truly show
Mm.
support, what role should financial institutions, healthcare providers, businesses, and policymakers play in making women's health more affordable and accessible?
Right. Okay, so I think if we look at how there are a number of initiatives out there. For example, financial wellness programs, employee wellness programs. In terms of corporates, they have CSI projects. In terms of from a private sector, contributing and assisting initiatives where women want to go out there and empower them. I think a lot of the private sector, small businesses don't understand the importance of actually supporting women that want to drive these initiatives. They don't see the value out of that. But if we can start inculcating something to that effect, and don't underestimate the older woman in the families, they actually have a huge impact in terms of empowering their sons, their daughters, and of course they are the cement, like I said, the foundation, which obviously teaches young people, men, to start respecting women and empowering the women. So it's all these little things that have a ripple effect at the end of the day.
Mm. And with that, Rabbia, can you share briefly in terms of how exactly does your NGO offer support to these very women? And if I am listening in and I'd like to receive the very same support, how do I go about reaching out to the NGO itself?
Okay, you just have to contact me. I do have a website. It's called RHK Consulting. It just started off very small because I ran my own business. So I wrote this book, and with the intention of all proceeds from my book will go into the NGO, and of course from there I will build from and I'll start marketing my book. So yes, we require a lot of funding from that, but for now, if anybody requires help, they're welcome to contact me. Go into my website, send me an email, Rabbia at RHK Consulting. Rabbia spelled with Rabbia. It's it's not the normal Rabbia. Rabbia at rhkconsulting.co.za. And of course, we can set up some time and get a group of women together, and I'm happy to do sessions with them. Obviously, we do an analysis in terms of what it is that they require, and we can embark on that initiative. And, I always say Allah has blessed me tremendously, and now it's my time to give off to all women there, and whoever needs, from an emotional, from a psychological, as well as a financial perspective. So all of these form everything that's required in terms of women. You can't support other women if you're not okay.
That is so true. And
Yeah.
just looking at the fact that supporting or rather purchasing this book doesn't only end with it empowering the reader, but it goes into really paying it forward in terms of helping another woman who needs help in terms of understanding whatever it may be in their journey, in terms of linking their finances to that of, being a healthier individual. Now, if or when someone takes this book and purchases this book, what would you like for them to really observe and learn from the book itself?
The book is actually more of a guide. It tells
Mhm.
you what you should do, how you should start, and it will move from one generation to the other. So, from an emotional perspective, from a psychological perspective, and because I come from a financial background and I managed a number of financial advisors and a number of managers in the financial sector, it teaches you, how do you build wealth? How do you build on your emotional side? How do you build on your psychological side? What is it that we need to do in order to create that balance? So it's an amazing book. And if you use it as a guide and you implement what I'm asking you to do in that book, it actually works. A few of the women that I know and have given me feedback, this one lady in Durban, she actually phones me and tells me, I've implemented this and I've implemented that, and it actually works. So, I mean, throughout, I've managed so many people in my life, and I've seen so many women struggle in their finances. And hence, this whole book is based on simple principles that you will use and utilize in terms of just getting yourself to a point where you can survive and become financially independent. Because when we talk about independence, we're not only talking about just having money in the bank. You can say no, you can walk away from a situation. You don't have to, be dependent on a family for money. You can say, no, I don't want to do certain things. You have choices in life. And that's what financial independence. So this is what the book is teaching you, and teaching you not just having money, having the confidence and the ability to say no as a woman.
And in closing, first and foremost, what's the one thing you'd like to dispel when it comes to women's health, and what's next for Rabbia Sarang?
Good question, hey? So so the one thing I would like to tell women is your health is your greatest investment. And of course, not your greatest expense. We spend so much of time on unnecessary things like clothes, makeup, and etc. But we forget about retirement and savings and securing our financial future. I encourage every woman listening to take one small step today, which is, number one, book your health checkup, start an emergency health fund, ask for financial advice, and simply make yourself a priority. When women are healthy, families thrive. And when families thrive, communities prosper. And when communities prosper, nations grow, the economy grows. So let's not stop asking whether we can afford to invest in women's health, and start asking whether we can afford not to. So that's what I want to tell women. And in terms of what's next for me, I just embarked. So I have a very weird passion. I love building and property. So my kids always tell me I have an expensive hobby, and I do that to secure my income. I'm a single woman, and I have to take care of two kids. And throughout my life, it's 20 some odd years, I've been financially independent, shukr, and I thank the Almighty for that. So I just embarked on a project which I just completed. So my next step is just to take a holiday, go to Namibia. When I come back, I'm driving. And I said, my next goal now is to work on empowering women and drive my book. And inshallah, that is what I have to do now. I think I'm financially independent, and I don't think I need more money. It's not that I have a lot, but I am more than comfortable. So my next thing is to build on this.
Alhamdulillah. Well, Jazakallah so much, for truly taking out the time and joining us, and really giving us something to reflect on and work on in terms of how we need to invest in ourselves. Because, abandoning ourselves does not serve ourselves, does not serve the nation, does not serve, our communities at that. But Jazakallah once more time for joining us, Rabbia.
Jazakallah. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful afternoon. Salams.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Viewers and listeners, that was Rabbia Sarang, who is a senior executive consultant, author, and a thought leader, who was just really sharing in her insight, her experience, as well as her observation when it comes to, financial implication on women's health. Hopefully that was helpful for you. But when we come back after the ad break, we speak to Anisa Musa from the National Shelter Movement of South Africa.
We